In this video, I'm going to show you how to clean and completely waterproof your tile, tub, or shower surround. And we're going to do it right now. So here I have my tile tub surround that I did just about 3 years ago. If you watched the video, thanks for watching. Just in general, showers and tubs can get gross pretty quick. But along with the soap scum and just general dirtiness, I have some discoloration in my grout right here. I want to reseal this niche or this shelf. I'm starting to get some spots where, like here, you can see this silicone is starting to get yellowed. You can see some cracking in here too, which is in general pretty normal for tiles that meet like this, and grout lines can start to crack. But I'm going to show you how to clean the tile, the grout, all of the old silicone. I'll show you how to remove that and reseal it with new silicone. And then I'll show you how to seal the grout and the tile. So no time to waste. Let's get started. So as you're doing this, make sure you're thinking of the timeline of how you want to do this. First of all, you need to make sure that you don't have to use the tub or the shower, because you're going to have to let it dry out a couple times after cleaning and after sealing the grout and caulking everything back in. So keep that in mind. And also the process of how you want to do this. The first thing I'm going to do is remove the caulking everywhere, all the adhesive from hooks that I had, and then I'll clean everything, clean the tile, clean the grout, clean the tub, and then I'll seal it back in with silicone, and then the last thing I'll do is seal the grout. So you can also seal the grout and then do the silicone, but that's up to you. I feel like the silicone is going to stick to the tile better than it will stick to any residual sealer that's on the tile. So with all that said, let's start by removing all this caulking in the corners. So this silicone actually is only a couple years old, but it's already starting to yellow. Now, it doesn't actually look that bad, but since I'm doing this, I'm just going to try and remove everything that's here and start fresh. So to remove it, you can use something like a 5-in-1 and just try and get in here and scrape it away. As you can see, I just made a mark on the tile. So you're going to want to be careful when doing that. You can also get some caulking remover, which I might actually use on this, but I have this fancy caulking removal tool that has a nice point on it. So I'm going to see how this does, and just try not to scrape the tile. And this is ceramic tile, by the way. So anything that I do in this video is related to ceramic tile. We're going to start up here. This is where the caulking stops. And I'm just going to run this tool in the corner, carefully start to remove that caulking. Let's see, actually doing a pretty good job. And if you just run your hand like this, you should be able to get the rest of it. This also has a plastic scraper on it. Actually, that works really well. And I'm not scratching the tile. Okay, so this section right here, this tile, is a good example of how you want it to be. Nice and clear, right down to the original grout. There. Another reason you might remove all this is some of the older silicone is notorious for developing mold, and it might be black. Mine probably looks amazing compared to a lot. The 5-in-1 actually works really well to get right in there afterwards, to just get all the little pieces out of there. Careful cleaning it like this, in case you have a big gap that might have a sharp edge. It's looking pretty good. Now, do not let this stuff go down the drain. I'm gonna clean all that up with a vacuum. And all this right here. Now I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. If your caulking is spread out a little further on the tile, a 501 or a scraper is doing a better job. So you can get under all of this, like that. Do that on that side, and the same on this side. Boom. So the two back corners are all set, and I'm kind of attacking these in a certain way because different materials are touching. This is the same, but I have some tips on a niche on how to seal it up or how not to, because I did the wrong thing. So if you look right here in the corner, this is a pretty bad seal. So what I used is a siliconized caulking that's actually not meant to be exposed to water like this. I didn't want to do the silicone in here, the 100% silicone, because I didn't want this to get yellowed because that's where most of the water's going in. But hindsight's 20/20 because I should have used the 100% silicone, but I'm actually going to use something different for this and these back corners a little later in the video. But first I'm going to get all this old caulking out of here. It sticks good, but once it gets wet, didn't seem like it did a good job, so I want to get it right down to that grout. Still more in here. You can see as I'm removing this stuff, I'm revealing a crack right here, which is normal. It's okay, we're gonna fill that all in, and that's the whole point. So the niche and the two corners are all set. I'm just gonna vacuum all this up. Next up is on the back side here, where my glass doors were. I actually removed them to make all this easier. But you can see all this is caulked in, and this is starting to get yellowed. It's in fine shape, but since I'm doing this, I'm gonna remove it. You can see right here, I tested removing it. You can see the difference in color. And then if you go all the way down, right here in the corner is really what I wanna concentrate on, because on this side, and especially on the other side, this is where water notoriously escapes out here. And then all along here, I want to remove all this. And this is nasty. We can skip right over that. And over here, you can see this is really yellowed. A lot of water accumulates right here, and we're going to have to redo this whole area. So I'm going to use caulking remover on the verticals here against this. But I'm going to be really careful not to get it on the tub because it does say not to use on painted, refinished, or varnished surfaces. This tub is refinished. I just don't want to ruin anything. So I'll just be real careful and just do it all along here. I already tried to take this, to get this caulking off here, and it was quite a lot of work. So I'm going to hope that this helps me out. I'm going to put a paper towel here so I don't get it all over the tub. And just apply this. And wipe that in there like this. It says to let this sit for about 5 to 20 minutes. All right, let that sit. It's been about 10 minutes. See how we did. I'm gonna remove all the excess. And obviously you can see I'm wearing gloves. I think it is working. Might have to repeat the application. Let's see. Okay, it's definitely coming off of the metal. Let me wipe that down. See how that worked. Yeah, that's pretty good. If I can get it like that, I'll be happy. So it is making it easier. I'm scraping the tile first, and then I'm scraping the metal carefully, and then just digging in there like that. It's coming right off. Cool. I got the majority of it off, so that's good. I think what I'll do is just put another small amount to get all the adhesive off. When you're doing this, you might want to open a window or turn a fan on, or both, because it is a little strong of a smell. Now while this sits there, I'm gonna go over and do the other side. I'm also gonna do inside right here, all this silicone. I wanna get as much of that out or off of there as I can. I'll let that sit, and then this side too. Now that I know it's safe for the metal. Now while the caulking remover sits on both sides, I'm gonna try and remove all this along here, get all this caulking off of here. Let's see. I'm just gonna use a plastic scraper on this stuff. Yeah. I think it definitely comes off of the tub easier than it comes off the metal. Some spots here that need a little more attention, but once you work at it a little bit, it'll come right off. I think I might be able to get in there. The edge of the 5-in-1. Basically want it to look a little something like this section here, and then I think I can clean that with just regular cleaner and maybe a little scrub brush. All right, I'll do one more scrape on this side. Might not even need to scrape it. Oh yeah, there's some caulking on there. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, I'm gonna say that that's pretty good. In here it could be a little tricky. I'm just gonna do our best. Okay. Because I don't want to scratch this so bad that you can tell, I'm just gonna stop there, clean this up. And as I wipe this down, any residual silicone, this is coming right off. I do want to rinse this before I spray any cleaner on it, just in case. I don't want to mix chemicals, but that's good. Move on to the other side. Some of that other caulking right here. See if I can get some of that out. I want to be careful right here because the finish is actually coming off the tub, which is not ideal. Nope, taking more of it off. I hate that, but I gotta do something about it. Can't really get in there with the plastic scraper. Just carefully try and dig that out of there. That's as far as I'm willing to go there for now. I want to concentrate in here carefully. Try not to scratch it like the other side. Okay, I'll do one more coat over here and let that sit. Just a thinner coat. Around the shower valve, you can see the silicone that's starting to peel off right here. So I'm gonna redo this with some higher quality silicone. I think that was one thing that I should have done, is bought better silicone. because this stuff comes off pretty easily. Okay, that's good. And I'm going to do the same thing with the spout right here. Let's get all this old caulking out of here. Look at the finish on this thing. I should replace this. And we'll scrape this side one more time. I think this side, I let it sit a little bit longer, so it's coming off a little easier. Now I'm going to clean up as much of this caulking as I can before I start cleaning this up with water. Just get all the dry stuff out of here. Now I'm just going to rinse anywhere I put that caulking remover. I just want to get the chemicals off of there. Give it one more final wipe down before we use the cleaner. I didn't get it all, but I got a lot of it. All right, I got all the caulking out of here. That's all set. Now I want to clean everything as best as I can, and I want to concentrate on these grout lines. I'm going to scrub those. I have some spots here and here, this whole thing basically, and everywhere I remove the caulking, I'll scrub. There's some spots around the bottom of the tub. Just want to keep that in mind when I spray this. I'm going to let it sit. There are so many different cleaners that you can use. I'm just going to use a regular bathroom cleaner. This is good for tile, ceramic tile, and I'm hoping it'll clean the grout as well. So I'll spray this whole thing down and then let it sit and scrub-a-dub-dub it. Start it here. I'm really going to concentrate in here. I know there's holes, there's gaps here. A little bit of water and cleaner should be fine. All right, here, it's pretty good. Has some pretty good stains. And then all this grout is probably the worst. So I'm gonna go right in the grout lines. So to scrub these grout lines, you could use a toothbrush, but I'm gonna use this little thing right here. Might make it easier. So we got a lot to do. That's coming off. This in here. So this is working. Look at this line. Brightens up. And you can see the dirt and the foam down here as it's dripping. So it is working. Hopefully this is all I need and I don't need any kind of acidic cleaner. But even this stuff is kind of stinky. That's okay. It means it's working, right? Here's the cool thing about this. It has this right here, like a pointy head. That'll work good for the corners. Twist it on there, good to go. I'm gonna get this adhesive off. This we had baby toys hanging in a little net. We do not have them anymore. I think we did a good job cleaning. You can see all this dirt around these grout lines. So we'll rinse it all out. You can see all the dirt down here. We'll rinse it with hot water. I think we did pretty good. And then right here you can see the difference in caulking and grout. And the caulking's not getting wet, but once the grout dries, it should dry the same color. I'm not too worried about a little bit getting in there. It's fine. Now we'll do this side. And these grout lines look fine. I'm not gonna scrub them. I'm just gonna spray the whole thing. But I will use that brush right here in this corner and then on the bottom. Now, depending on how bad your tile is, you might want to get a scrub brush and scrub the whole thing, but mine, like I said, is not that old, so I'm not scrubbing, just cleaning like this. Okay, so that did a pretty good job. Just whatever cleaner you're using, make sure you check the label and make sure it's going to work for your tile or for whatever you're using it for, and read the instructions. But that worked good for me. I'm going to let this dry. Preferably, you would let it dry for 24 hours before you would add the caulking. So that's what we're going to do. So everything's completely dry. That stuff did a really good job cleaning this. I had to scrub certain areas. But the reason I wanted to let it dry completely is because I wanted to be able to tell the difference between discoloration in the grout and just the grout being wet. And that's the reason that I want to seal this, and that you would want to seal it, is because grout is porous, it absorbs water. Obviously the shower is waterproof behind this tile, but it's not great to get water behind there in any fashion. So I let it dry completely, that way I could tell if there were spots, and I did have a couple. There was one right here, this whole grout line was discolored, but I hit it again and cleaned it. It looks good. And there's just like a little spot like this, and there might be a couple of those, and that's okay. I can live with that. I scrubbed that pretty good and it's not coming out. That might just happen. And you might be looking at this saying, Matt, this tile's great. Mine is horrible. And I get it. This is only a 3-year-old shower. So just do the best you can with what you got. Clean it as good as you can before you seal it, because once you seal it, it's sealed. So that discoloration is going to stay there. So get it as clean as possible. But this looks good. It's all dry and we can move on. Okay, so I have to fix this. It's bothering me and I want to do this before I caulk everything in. If you take a close look here, unfortunately, the finish is coming off of this tub. This tub was refinished and it's only been 3 years, and I'm a little disappointed, but I mean, that's the risk you take when you refinish a cast iron tub like this. And this might not apply to you, but it might. So I'm gonna throw it in the video. I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but I will tell you that I'm gonna use this super glue porcelain chip fix. All I'm gonna do is scrape off any of the loose paint here and then apply probably a couple coats of this and try and get it to the same thickness as the finish that they put on this. And then I'll let it dry and we can caulk everything in. Well, that looks a lot better. Not perfect, but a lot better. So while that cures completely, another 10-15 minutes, I'm gonna start caulking all this in. So there are a lot of different options out there when it comes to silicone. I would recommend a 100% silicone, a high quality silicone. This is GE Supreme silicone. I saw good reviews on it, and I'm gonna use this for one small part of this, but for the rest of it, I'm actually gonna use this. This is also silicone, but this is color matched. So the difference between this and the stuff that I used before for the niche, the stuff that I used before was like a sanded grout that had silicone added to it. This is 100% silicone. It is just color matched to this grout, which is DeLorean gray. So I'm gonna use this in all the corners and for the niche, and I'm just gonna use clear silicone along this track right here. So open this up, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't like caulking, and no matter how much I do it, I always feel like I don't do a great job. But as long as it gets sealed, and this tool that I have comes with a nice little finisher right here. Now, I know you've probably seen this technique that is, like a trend now, where you run a bead of caulking and you spray it with soap and water and then you finish it. This silicone actually says in the instructions not to do that. And the thought behind it is that the soap will kind of create a poor bond with whatever material you're attaching it to. So if it says it on the tube, I wouldn't do it, and I'm not gonna do it. I've never done it. Just do it the old school way. You could actually use a caulking gun to cut this open right here, but I want a nice clean edge on this, and I'm gonna go about right here. You want a nice thick bead, but you don't want to go crazy. So something like that should be okay. I'm just gonna go up to these tiles right here and run a bead like this, all the way down. A little bit of pressure. Let's go old school. Tool does a pretty good job, but I'm just gonna clean it up using my finger. That's about as good as I can do. The benefit of using clear silicone is your mistakes won't be as obvious. As long as you seal it up, you'll be okay. Now, this is probably the most important part in this entire shower, to make sure that I'm filling this crack in and putting a nice bead there so no water can get in and sit in the wall. Might as well bring it out this way, on the sides too. And I am gonna seal this, but you can see there's been some issues, there's cracking here. And I'm just gonna do silicone along this whole thing and on these grout lines, just so this whole thing is nice and protected with 100% silicone. Try and get that caulking right down in that crack. Now I'll do the back of the glass door track. And this side. Now on the bottom here, I definitely want to seal in this corner, but I don't want to just run a bead of caulking like this and be done with it. I'm going to run a bead all the way back to here, and hopefully that's going to help prevent this from happening, because when I had this tub refinished, it was grouted first and then it was refinished up to the grout. As you can see, there's some spray on the grout itself. And the way this tub is, there's actually a lip of the tub that goes up and this tile overlaps it. So caulking this in for other people might be to prevent water from getting into the wall, but I'm not worried about that. I just want to protect this finish and not have water sitting there, potentially making it do what it did over here. And I think it might look a little better as long as I'm careful with the caulking. I want to make this nice and thick in the corner and then work my way out. So I'll work that like that, and then just a small bead here. I could probably take this tub spout off, but I'm trying to avoid that. On the back of the tub. Just try and cover up this white, the spray. Oh, don't go crazy, Matt. And the rest of this will be all clear silicone. Now I'm going to use the clear silicone to caulk around this valve trim. This has a rubber gasket behind here, but this will be just like a just-in-case kind of thing. Just be careful on the bottom. There is a hole. You want to not caulk that in case water does get in here. It's going to need a place to escape so it doesn't just sit there. And that's the same with the spout as well. Caulk this in. Clean that up. And now the spout. And I don't know if this has been bothering you throughout the video, but it's been bothering me. There's like, this is peeling. It's like a, I don't know, some kind of layer on this, some kind of protective coating or part of the finish, but it's all peeling off. So I could get a new one of these, but it's, other than that, it's fine. So I think I'm just gonna try and peel that off and make it look better. I got all of it off except for this section right here. But if all this came off, I'm sure that will too. And that, like I said, might be a protective coating, and eventually this might rust out or, you know, whatever, and I'll replace it at that point. But if I don't have to replace it, I'm not gonna. So back to the regularly scheduled program. This is gonna move around a little bit on you in most cases, so just beware of that. And just don't caulk in the hole at the bottom. All the grout color silicone is done. I'm gonna do clear down here, but I need to put the doors on first because there's a bracket that I want to silicone around, but I'm not gonna put the doors back on until I'm done sealing the grout and the tile. So I'm gonna wait for this to dry, preferably 24 hours before I seal the grout. It's been 24 hours, all of the caulking is completely cured. I think it came out pretty good. Now it's time for the final step, which is to seal the grout. And some people ask, do you really need to seal grout? And I would say, yes, you do. Because as I was saying earlier in the video, grout is porous and it absorbs moisture. When I was cleaning this, you could see all of these grout lines get dark, and that's how you know that you need to seal it. Once we seal it, we'll do a test with water. I did one before, and the grout line darkened up right away. So the goal is to seal it, and when you do the water test, that grout line should maintain the original grout color, and that way you'll know that the water isn't getting to it and it is sealed. So there's a bunch of different sealers out there, just like everything else. Every product that I've used in this video, there's so many different types. I'm gonna use this 511 spray-on grout sealer by Miracle Sealants. This one is a spray, which is why I like using it, because it makes it pretty easy. And this one is pretty affordable. It depends on how much you want to spend and what type you want to use, but I'll use this one. And basically all I'm gonna do is hold it away about 6 inches, and I'm gonna get every one of these grout lines, and there's gonna be a bunch of overspray, which is fine. I'll do this whole back wall, and then I'll wipe it down with a lint-free, I have a towel here that it will actually spread the sealer out, and it'll help protect the tile as well as the grout. So, shake this up and get to sealing. I'm gonna start with this row of tile right here, and I'm gonna not worry too much about the tiles above it because it's not as important to seal it. It will get moisture up there, but it's not gonna get direct water like down here. So we'll start there and work our way down. Make sure you get all these grout lines. You'll know that you got it because it'll turn dark, like right here. I missed in the middle. And you might have some residual. If you've sealed this before, some of this might already have some sealer on it, and that's fine. And also, if you're grouting for the first time, and sealing, just wait a couple hours before you seal the grout. But the most important thing when you seal is to make sure everything is clean and dry and free of debris, because whatever you seal on here, it's gonna stay there. And now the niche, or the shelf, which is really important because a lot of water is gonna sit right here and collect. So I wanna make sure this is sealed. Here too. Again, don't worry about putting too much on, because we're gonna wipe this all down and get all the excess off. Now I'm gonna look all over the place, and I can see I missed a spot right here. So just hit any spots that I missed. Like that. I'm gonna look around. We're looking pretty good. Now I'm gonna take my towel and just wipe down everything lightly. I want a lot of this sealer to stay here, so I'm just gonna very gently just get the big stuff off. Spread it around evenly. Niche. Get it off of here. I'm just gonna rinse the bathtub to try and get all that excess sealer off of there. Just from here, without getting the actual tile wet. Now we gotta let that dry for about 2 hours, and we can put a second coat on it. Between 1 and 3 coats is probably good, but we can test in between to see how it's sealing. So it's been about 2 hours, and most of these grout lines have returned to the original grout color, telling me that it's dry. The sealer is cured, so I can do another coat. Let's check to see how good of a job this is doing. If we look at the grout line right here, what should happen now is this should not change color, and the water should kind of bead up off the tile. Kind of like that. So this is telling me that it's working. Now I'm not gonna stop here. I only did 1 coat the first time, and the reason I did that was just because I had a wife that was 9 months pregnant during this bathroom remodel, and she wanted her bathroom back. So I only did 1 coat then, and you could see it didn't last the 3 years because all of these grout lines absorbed that water. So I'm gonna do at least 2 coats, probably 3, and I'd recommend you do the same. Okay, new can, I'm totally out. So on the can it says 125 square feet. I got about 100 out of it with 1 coat, so maybe if I was a little more careful, I could get that, but. I don't want this to seem counterproductive. When I'm wiping this down, I'm basically just trying to put an even layer on here. I'm not trying to take off all the sealer. That's why I'm doing it very lightly, and then I'm taking and evening it out so there's no like real long drips or streaks. You might be able to see that because of the sheen sometimes, depending on how you look at it. So that's what I want to avoid. Just put a nice thin, even coat. So second coat is almost dry. There's still some spots, but I want to do another water test right here. We'll see how we're doing. Nice. Looks like it's working. And I'll dry that up right away. And that's pretty much the process. You can do another coat if you want to. I'm probably going to use up the rest of that bottle on the niche. But for right now, what I'm gonna do, because you don't need to see this anymore, I'm gonna put these doors back in and caulk in the bottom track here and wrap this up. Now I can silicone this with clear silicone. Go right around my bracket that I reinstalled. And now in here, I'm not going to really worry about how it looks in here. It's very important in here to just make sure it doesn't leak. Same thing on this side. So if you needed to clean and reseal your tub or shower surround, I hope this video helps. Or maybe you just wanted to check it out. Let me know how I did in the comments, and I really appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one. Now I just gotta clean these shower doors. They're nasty. Okay. Hey, definitely scratched it right there. Whoops. Okay. And this one is pretty affordable. Cha-ching. So everything's completely dry, and that stuff did a great job. Where was I going from there?